The start of a new era for Wales, but will Ireland continue the domination? Hello, amateurs, and welcome to our Six Nations series. And I've got Elko with me again today. There he is.
ATT, some selection. Let's get into it.
Indeed, some selections. But before selections, let's have a little bit of a chat about what's been happening in Wales since we last spoke. Gatland's gone. What did you make of it?
Um, well, it's sad in some ways, but I think the writing was on the wall for quite a long time. Um, if I'm really honest, I think he was waiting for a payout. I know all the press are saying he didn't get anything. I don't believe that. He said yesterday on one of the pods that he had a without prejudice conversation, and in my industry, what that means is there's a few pounds there floating around to say goodbye, and or else he's done a deal where he can not get paid and he can write his book and tell awards and all, because that's what it looks like is coming. But look, in terms of the Welsh for Welsh rugby, I think it's, they had to rip that plaster off. I think we'll get into who's coming in at the moment, but I think a long-term plan, there's a lot to do. And they're going to need to bring in some really good strategists to come in and get those pathways going again, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt Sherritt's in now, obviously, as head coach. He's got rid of Howley because I'm assuming he's going to do the attack himself, which all makes perfect sense. I think this is a positive for Wales right now. They just needed something. They needed anything almost, really, just to get some kind of bounce and excitement back in their squad and in this team. And in picking three players back into the squad that almost everybody universally thought should have been picked in the first place, he's definitely given a good sort of boost there to the Welsh.
Yeah, I mean, it's the timing's not good for Ireland. I, I can say that much. Although I'm a lot happier with their selection, which we'll get into shortly. But yeah, I mean, it's a free hit, isn't it? It's almost got, and I don't mean this in a kind of disparaging way. It's kind of got an invitational kind of Barbaz feel about it in some respects. That, they would have had what, 4 sessions together this week. Um, Gatlin didn't help them that much by delaying it last week, sort of thing. And they, for me, and I don't know what you think, but they have to play. They have to go out. Jockey's known for that. He's an attack coach. He's said it, he's on record for saying that he wants people to come and enjoy the brand of rugby that his players are putting out in the field. And yeah, they've got to hit for nothing. If they go out and they get beaten by a score or so, but they score a couple of tries, that's going to give a lot of confidence to the players, and I think the Principality will be quite happy with that. If they go out and start doing box kicks and warm ball, that people are going, what have you done here, sort of thing. So, from an Irish point of view, it's a little bit of a worry. And for me, it's going to be a kind of invitational, sparky, uh, quite an abrasive pack they've picked against cohesion. And that's the Ireland team just screams cohesion to me, and that's the battle I think is coming on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. It rings true to me a lot of how Italy were a few years ago when they were scrabbling through games and still losing, not really making much progress. And then they just went, right, let's enjoy ourselves, let's attack, let's entertain. And I'd love to see that approach from this Welsh side, which is kind of what you've just described as well. Okay, let's get into the selections because there's some really interesting stuff in here, starting with the forwards, the Welsh forwards, as always. And he's swapped the entire front row out, which is, quite a big call. I thought the front row had done okay. They hadn't sort of let themselves down, but yeah, whole new front rowing.
Yeah, yeah. Again, I mean, I don't know a huge amount of all these boys. I think you called quite a few of these on your prediction vid during the week. Um, Yeah, I mean, look, it's fresh. He probably just wants to freshen it up, get rid of all the baggage, just come in and go for it, and really have a go at the Irish pack, which have a couple of inexperienced bodies in there for sure. And it gives them a little bit of experience on the bench to come off. The guys have been involved. Certainly, I think a tie head is it. So yeah, it'll be, they'll be strong, they'll be abrasive. I think he'll want a platform just to play off, get the ball in and out, and let the backs get on with it, sort of thing.
Yeah, and in the back row, Morgan and Reffel picked 2 sevens, which I suspected they might go with after England had good success with that tactic against the Irish as well. Looks like Wales are going to try and get into the Irish, try and slow them down, try and break their rhythm.
Yeah, well, as you said in your prediction video, it's very much. I think they're copying England's blueprint of getting some battlers on the ground, to really kind of upset, just get Ireland off their rhythm, go after Prendergast, all those kind of good things. So, it's clever. The Irish back row, which we'll get into, is quite is obviously going to be very strong, but it's quite long and tall. And whereas these guys are right to the floor all the time, we know what Raffles like. He's quality, and Morgan will lead for the front, and Faletau will have, I'm sure, be like a spring chicken on Saturday.
Yeah, dead keen for it, no doubt. Okay, into the backs and a few changes here. Josh Adams is injured by all accounts, so he might have been playing otherwise. But it's Ellis Mee onto the left wing, playing for Nottingham last year. Now the Scarlets and now Wales. What a rapid rise to stardom for him.
Yeah, unbelievable. He's got 10 or 11 games for the club now at this stage, but youngster. You have to, if you're good enough, you're old enough, sort of thing. I think he's gone for, I think, some. So speaking of cohesion, that's a Scarlet's back three, right? So, maybe that was in his thinking alongside the injury side of things as well. But maybe his plan was to have this guy involved anyway. I haven't seen much of him. I don't know much about him. Looks like a tall, rangy kid, and I'm sure he'll be getting tested on Saturday.
Yeah, wispy is how I think I'd describe him. Um,
Wispy,
and yeah, and just going on to the cohesion
like
though
my
here.
hair.
And the cohesion here, we got club partners here, Williams and Anscombe at halfback, along with
Yeah,
Llewellyn, all from Gloucester. Ben Thomas, who Sherritt knows well from Cardiff, obviously playing in his position that he plays in all the time at Cardiff. You can see if he's going to try and put something together quickly, he's picked players who know each other. So that's smart, isn't it? That's got to be a smart thing to do.
yeah, yeah, 100%. Literally, when I saw him, he's literally just what 20 minutes to come out. I sort of was ringing around, sort of where are the combinations, because I was thinking about Ireland's selection and what they've done there in terms of their cohesion. And yeah, it's like that 9-10, and then he's got his outside partner in the 13 in Llewellyn. It's clever. It means that they can get up to speed. As I said, they only had 4 sessions, so they'll probably have a few snap calls that they'll know for quick ball. I think it'll be a fairly simple game plan. Not as simple as Warren Ball, but I think it will be fairly simple. Um, and there'll probably be a few little trick plays in there. I'd say maybe a couple of little chippies, that kind of little grubbers, to slow Ireland's defence coming up. But yeah, I think it's really clever, and I'm so glad for Thomas. I mean, him getting picked out of position week in, week out. I mean, they're asking so much of him. Um, I think it's quite unfair, and I'm just glad to see him back in a strong position. And I think he'll go well outside of Anscombe for sure.
Yeah, completely agree. He's attracted a fair bit of criticism, and I think it's been very harsh on him given the circumstances that he's found
Yeah.
himself in. Okay, on to the Irish team and some changes here. Clarkson in at tight head.
My God.
What are you making of that?
Yeah. What do I make of it? It's an interesting one. I mean, if they were going to do it for any game, it was going to be for this, to bring in some new blood, right? But it is, you know. Along with all the changes and everything else, I would imagine there's some quite easy team talks going on for Wales. The fact that, I mean, it could be seen as, they're resting Beelum potentially, and bringing Clarkson through, but this kid has been knocking on the door for a while, and he's a big kid. He's been doing okay. So, and again, it's an all, talking about cohesion. It's an all Leinster front row there. So, maybe I think him and Sheehan have probably been working quite closely together. Um, but yeah, it's going to be. If I'm sure you'd be the same as me. If I was Wales, I would be going for the tie head, and seeing what we could do there.
Definitely. And it's Nicky Smith, who is a very, very good scrummaging loosehead as well and aggressive. So that'll be a key battleground, I think, particularly early in the game. Should also say before we move on that Doris, Furlong, and Kelleher all out injured. So that's why they're missing from this forward pack. But also, big news, Dan Sheehan promoted to skipper, first time captain in Ireland. I'm sure he'll be delighted.
Yeah, I mean he has been sort of they've been talking about him as captain before injury coming through, and again we spoke about this last week about or sorry 2 weeks ago about his rapid recovery. I mean he's only played like 130 minutes this season. 130 minutes. It's crazy, and he's coming in now to his first start in this year's Six Nations, and he's captaining the side. I mean, it's awesome. It just shows probably the respect that not only the coaches have, but the players around him, have for him. But there's pressure there, and you know what it's like when you're going into a game where you're expected to win. Things sometimes don't go right, but I think they've got the selection so clever here because Clarkson's got something to prove. Sheehan's got something to prove. Porter wants his Irish and British Lions place, so it's gonna be a fierce up front.
Yeah, and there is a ton of experience around him as well. There in people like Ty Byrne, Peter O'Mahony in particular, Josh van der Fleer, and Lions test number 8, Jack Conan to come in and take over from Doris. So it's not like this is a weak Ireland side in any way whatsoever. And in
No,
fact, on any given day, it might be stronger.
yeah, it's so clever. You've got McCarthy coming in for Ryan. I mean, he's going to be going absolute gangbusters trying to kill everybody. So then that might what he's like when he gives away a lot of penalties. But let him go, let him be fierce. And Conan, again, as you just said, he's got a lot to prove. He could play himself into a selection here for the squad at least. So it's just clever. It's just keeping it ticking over, and then you've obviously got the old war horse again, our pal Pom at 6, who's I hope is going to make sure that there is no complacency and that they do come back to what they know. And it's Wales will play fast and loose, and these guys have got to be the right balance with an interesting 10 to not get sucked into a sort of chuck it everywhere kind of game.
Yeah, keeping their own discipline, keeping their own structures, I think is going to be key. You're right. And Omani will definitely be all over that, I've no doubt. Okay, onto the backs. And we are almost the same here, actually. The centres rotate, as I think a lot of people predicted they might. And the only real sort of change there, then, in that respect, is Osborne coming in for Keenan, who I assume has been rested. I haven't heard any notes that he's sort of carrying an injury or anything this week. So do you
No,
think that's just rest?
I don't know. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. It's I don't know. It's presumably he's been rested. He's been playing well. I thought I was writing down like the guys that have been swapped out, and and this has been really hypercritical and just trying to get inside. This is a potential banana skin. There is no doubt about it for Ireland. Expected to win. They got Wales got a new coach. The crowd will be going balubas. It's a tough one, right? And Keenan for me is if you look at the backs who have had slightly ropey games. And I'm only talking about when he was coming back from the sevens. He had a few games where things just didn't go right for him, and he wasn't good. The same for Aki in the autumn. He had a bit of a wobbler and things. I think this shores us up. I think Osborne coming in is he's absolutely class. Such a good player. I'm sure he'll get tested, but he's good under the high ball. But again, it's the psychology. It's a fresh kid coming in. He's trying to prove. It just lifts everybody around him. And it's good to see Mac Hansen recovered from his glute injury as well.
Absolutely. Okay, onto the bench. We've got Gus McCarthy in there and potentially in line for a debut. Boyle at
Mm.
Loosehead, another youngster there in the front row.
Yeah, so this guy's from the St Michael's Leinster School system, so he will be very good. He'll be fit. I was reading some stuff around. He's in probably the best loosehead prop school in the world. He's in behind Porter, in behind Church as well. So he's getting lots of sort of, I guess, help and learning from those guys. It's a massive step up. Again, the Welsh might look at this and go, "Who the hell is this?" But again, if you're old enough, you're good enough. And I don't think they would take a risk with a kid unless he's lifting some big numbers and the guys around him are saying, yeah, he's ready. And then he's also got what's Slamini as well. Apparently, him and Slamini get on very well at Leinster. So he's been trying to get some dark arts from him as well. So interesting selection.
Yeah. And the rest of the bench is much as expected, apart from maybe Kean Prendergast getting in there to cover the back row. Again, no mention of people like Ryan Baird being injured or rested. So it's another interesting one that Ireland are just bringing another player through to get a bit more experience here.
Yeah, I mean, and also like Coombs from Munster. I mean, again, Munster boys must be scratching their heads, going, "What, what does this kid need to do to get in?" And I haven't seen enough of him. I'm not sure if it's a line-out thing. He's certainly Coombs. Is an unbelievable carrier, and his try record in the URC is exceptional. I have seen Prendergast play quite a lot. He's a grafter. He'll win ball on the ground for you, even though he's quite tall. Um, his brother's in there playing a 10, so maybe this might be something there. But yeah, it's a tough one for the Munster guys. And no Ulster men either within there. I think there's 15 Leinster, 4 Munster, 4 Connacht, and 0 from Ulster, which is interesting. That's the whole thing about the cohesion. That back line for Prendergast to come and play with is perfect for him in what's going to be a bit of a hot pot, right? It's basically it's his Leinster back line.
Yeah, he'll have a lot of voices around him there that he recognises very, very clearly. Okay, let's talk about how we think this game is going to go. And we've kind of done it a little bit as we've gone through. And I think it's really going to depend a lot on how Wales approach this game because we know what we're going to get from Ireland. I don't think they're going to change anything that they're doing anytime soon. They've got a formula that works. Now, are Wales going to really have a go? Or are they going to try and play with a certain amount of balance? What do you reckon?
I don't think. Well, I don't think they can not play. I think they have to play. I just don't see them winning it. They're not going to win in an arm wrestle. It's just not going to happen. Which is what's been happening previous games, right? They've been playing this certain way of playing, and it's just not happening for them. So yeah, I think look, if they can get some ball up front, some speed of ball, I think that will be quite exciting. But I'll tell you what, before the Irish selection, I'm slightly worried now. But actually, the Irish selection has made me quite happy. It's a very attacking, as I just mentioned there. That back line is basically the Leinster back line with Mac Hansen there, and I think Ireland will probably play a lot. I think they're gonna look to play and run these guys off the park, but in a Irish structured, cohesive manner, as opposed to chucking it all around the place. And it's so tough for Anscombe and those lads because they haven't played a lot together recently, and they would have only had four or five sessions. So it will be a battle of. What I don't want to see is Ireland go like up the jumper and play real boring. Even though they may win conclusively, but I think they've got to go out and play. And the back line for me says they are going to play. They are going to play.
Yeah, I think they will, and I think Wales will as well. I think they'll take this as an opportunity to lift the spirits, to lift the verve within the stadium and the rugby population in Wales. And nobody expects them to win. Literally, nobody thinks they're going to win. So they've got nothing to lose. They've got literally nothing to lose. Just go out there, play everything, play with instinct. Yeah, they'll have some structure about what they're doing. They'll have some little trick plays, as you mentioned. Matt Sherratt is well renowned for doing that with Cardiff and his other teams as well. And just give it a shot. And if they do and they get some success early, then you never know.
The Triple Crown is on for Wales if they win. It could happen. Well, listen, TT, we've been there before on the underdog side of things when we were at Esher, and it's you can play with such freedom when you've got nothing to lose and no one expects anything from you, and you can um a couple of unlucky things, a couple of injuries, like what happened to Scotland, that could happen to Ireland. So it's you just don't know. The referee could be interesting. I don't know who it is this week. I haven't even looked. But and is the roof open or closed? I know you had someone on the pod saying that actually with a close it can lead to a wet ball. But have you heard anything? Do we know?
It's closed. It's guaranteed
Wow.
closed for the whole tournament.
Oh, I didn't know that. Right. Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So
they
it's
changed policy
it's going
this
to be
year. Yeah.
rocking. It's going to be rocking. And just an aside, I was chatting to a really good pal of mine from university, Mike Whelan Tiny, and he's just gone down or just bought tickets off the Wales website last night. And it's the first time he's ever been able to get a ticket officially under price. And
Ah.
apparently, so that they've said it's sold out, but I've heard there is a huge Irish contingent going, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And just going on about what you were saying about being massive favourites as well, and we've been on the underdog side. We were also on the favourite side when we were at Isha as well, playing in National One, and that feels very weird when you're huge favourites against a team that you know you should be beating, and somehow the game is just not panning out how you expected it to go, and all the things you mentioned there, potentially some refereeing decisions that just feel weird at the time, or you drop a ball that you should never drop, and psychologically, sometimes these games can be very difficult.
Yeah, the
Okay, with
psychology
all
is
that being
huge.
said,
Huge.
yeah. With all that being said, what do you reckon? Prediction time, Elko. How's it going to go?
Oh, I hope it's close and exciting, but I've got a feeling this the bookies haven't been wrong so far. So I think they've given what Wales a 25-point lead. I don't think it will be as big as that. I think probably 15 points. So I'm going to say something like 42, 20 something, late 20s, 42, 28, something like that.
Wow, Wales getting a good few scores though, so that's nice. I
Yeah, I
also
think
think
that's it.
Ireland will get in the 40s, but I don't think Wales will get into the 20s. I think it's going to be something like 44-16.
God, I don't, I don't like this. I don't like this.
Ireland's still on, obviously, for the Grand Slam as we speak, and Wales desperate to get a win. That's what we think, folks. But what do you think at home? Have we got it right? Any sort of selection things that we didn't mention that you think are going to be really important? Let us know in the comments down below, and we'll join you there for a friendly conversation. And give this video a thumbs up while you're down there, if you don't mind. Helps other people find it. And Elko, thank you very much again today. Appreciate it a lot.
Thanks, CT. Enjoy the game.
Cheers, mate. And everybody at home too, you can subscribe there. You can watch that next. And don't forget to get out and play.